The Chosen One's Journey by DragonWolf12. Ash gave a mental smile at his new friend and began to initiate the aura bond. Using the empathy link as a guide, he reached out with his aura and latched onto Pikachu's aura. Once he had established a stable connection, he poured more power into it and started to fuse their auras together. Once he was finished, the rest was up to Pikachu. As a human, Ash had to work for months to bring his aura to the level of control it was at now. Pikachu had it easy. As a Pokemon, the use of aura in certain areas came instinctually. Focusing on the newly established bond, Pikachu let it settle, pouring his own power into it to tighten it, and making it permanent. Once the bond was complete, Ash let the empathy link drop, and they returned to the real world. When the empathy link was established, Ash sped up his and Pikachu's perspectives to the speed of true thought. This meant that the last 10 minutes that the two had spent in their minds was only about 30 seconds in the real world. Bringing his eyes back to focus, Ash looked down at the table to see Pikachu rubbing his head against his hand, cooing in pleasure. The mouse then sprinted up the still outstretched arm and settled himself on his shoulder. Looking at the now shell-shocked professor, Ash smiled and said, "I choose Pikachu!" Snapping out of his shock, Oak said, "Well, Ash, I must certainly say that I am thoroughly impressed. I was expecting him to shock the living daylights out of you when you touched him. You see, I only captured him last night when I found him chewing on the power cables. I haven't had the chance to properly tame him yet." Glancing at Pikachu, Ash thought, "Power cables?" He received the impression of a shrug, and Pikachu replied, "I was bored." Focusing back on the professor, Ash said, "Well, I guess I did that pretty well." Chuckling, Oak replied, "Yes, you most certainly did. Now, you wait here a moment while I get your Pokédex and Pokéballs." As the professor walked out of the room, Ash focused on Pikachu. "So, now that I'm your trainer, I need to know what attacks you know." After looking thoughtful for a moment, Pikachu said, "Let's see. I know how to do Thunder Shock and Quick Attack. Oh, and I can also do Thunder Wave and maybe Double Team." Ash nodded his head. Now that they were bonded, Ash could fully understand Pikachu's Poke-speech. "Okay, that's a good moveset for now. I think we'll start you off with learning Agility for an extra speed boost, then Iron Tail, because the first gym has rock types." Professor Oak, who had walked in hearing Ash's talk, stopped in surprise. "He certainly did his homework. I wish Gary would take the time to research like Ash apparently has," he thought to himself as he walked into the room. "All right, here you are, Ash," he said as he handed Ash a red machine and 5 shrunken Pokeballs. "Would you like me to explain how the Pokédex works?" he offered. "That's all right, Professor. I would rather figure it out on my own," Ash said as he absently pet Pikachu on his shoulder. "All right then, here's Pikachu's Pokeball," Oak said as he handed him the Pokeball with the lightning bolt symbol on it. "Thank you very much, Professor," Ash said. With that, he walked out of the lab. Outside, Ash's mother had organized a small sending-off party for Ash of all of her friends. Ash smiled at the sight and gave his mother a hug. "Goodbye, Mom," Ash said. "I'll call you once I reach Viridian City." "Be good out there, Ash," she said through tears. "And don't forget to change your underwear." Ash blushed with embarrassment as a few members of the crowd snickered. "I will, Mom, don't worry," Ash said. With that, he walked down the road towards Route 1, everyone cheering for him. After walking for several hours, chatting with Pikachu, and spotting several different Pokemon, Ash decided to stop for some lunch. After pulling out a sandwich and some Pokemon food for Pikachu, he suddenly remembered something he had forgotten to do. Pulling out his Pokédex, he pointed it towards the eating Pikachu. "Pikachu, the mouse Pokemon, and the evolved form of Pichu. Pikachu's tail is sometimes struck by lightning as it raises it to check its surroundings. This Pikachu is male and has the ability Lightning Rod. He knows the moves Thunder Wave, Thunder Shock, Quick Attack, and Double Team. This Pikachu also possesses the egg move Volt Tackle, but it has not been unlocked yet." "Just like you said, although Volt Tackle is an incredible attack, we'll work on that once you've learned Thunder," Ash said. Once they were both finished, Ash put away the supplies and started to put his backpack on. However, before he could get it all the way on, he heard a steady beeping sound coming from his pack. "What's that sound?" Pikachu asked. Knowing there was only one thing in his pack that would make a sound like that, he pulled out his 2 Pokemon eggs to discover that both were glowing brightly. "Where did you get those 2 eggs?" Pikachu asked in awe. "I'll tell you later," Ash said. Removing the lids from the incubators, he set up a pair of blankets on the ground and placed an egg on each. Ash and Pikachu watched in awe as the eggs started glowing brighter and brighter before finally starting to change shape. When the glow died, Ash gasped at what he saw. 2 Pokemon were sitting before him. One was a small dark blue dog-like Pokemon with a black mask on its face and red eyes. The other was a small light blue serpentine Pokemon with white fins on either side of its head. "Roop! Teeny?" the 2 Pokemon said. "Oh wow! A Riolu and a Dratini!" Ash said in awe. As soon as the 2 Pokemon saw him, Riolu stood up on slightly wobbly legs and stumbled over to him while Dratini slithered. They both crawled and slithered onto his lap and looked up into his face. Ash just stared at them, going over the information he had learned about their species. Dratini are extremely rare dragon Pokemon found in Kanto and Johto. If you were lucky enough to capture one, you could become an incredibly powerful trainer because of their final evolution. The Kanto Johto champion's signature Pokemon was a Dragonite. Riolu are also rare Pokemon and are only found in Sinnoh. Evolving into the fighting and steel-type Lucario, they are powerful Pokemon in their own right. The other thing about Riolu and Lucario was their innate ability to use and control aura. Suddenly, Ash felt a pull on his aura and noticed that Riolu was looking at him intently with his paw on Ash's chest. Riolu was forming an aura bond with Ash. He was so lost in his thoughts that he hadn't noticed the bond forming, and now Riolu was waiting for him to finish it. Ash settled the bond and reinforced it for permanency, making Riolu smile. "Hi, Daddy," Ash heard in his mind. Suddenly, Pikachu started on his shoulder. Turning to the mouse, Ash said, "Riolu just bonded to me, and since you and I are bonded, you're probably included." Pikachu nodded, but seemed a little unsettled. Ash chuckled and turned back to Riolu. "Hello there, Riolu. How are you feeling?" Riolu tilted his head. "I feel happy," he said. With another laugh, Ash turned to Dratini and created an empathy link. He asked the dragon the same thing he had asked Pikachu, and Dratini readily agreed. Once the bond had formed, Ash heard 2 stomachs growling. Smirking, he said, "You guys are hungry, aren't you?" They nodded again, and he pulled out some more Pokemon food for his newest Pokemon. While they ate, Ash scanned them with his Pokedex. Riolu, the Emanation Pokemon. Riolu has the power to see and understand emotions like happiness or anger in aura waves. This Riolu is male and has the ability Inner Focus. He knows the moves Quick Attack, Endure, and Counter. This Riolu also possesses the egg move Blaze Kick, but it has not been unlocked yet. Dratini, the Dragon Pokemon. Dratini sheds its skin as it grows, often doing so while hidden behind large powerful waterfalls. This Dratini is male and has the ability Shed Skin. He knows the moves Wrap and Leer. This Dratini also possesses the egg move Extreme Speed, but it has not been unlocked yet. Ash nodded to himself as he processed the information. Sitting up against a nearby tree, he began meditating, allowing his aura to spread throughout his body and mind. After some time, he felt 3 more presences making their way towards him. Pikachu jumped up and made himself comfortable on his head. Dratini slithered across his shoulders, and Riolu plopped himself down on his lap and rested his head against Ash's chest. Extending his aura out to his Pokemon, he let them meld into his meditation. Taking advantage of this situation, Ash began to converse with each Pokemon. He assessed their physical condition and abilities, while planning their training and completely losing track of time. Finally, after several hours, the ever-growing rumbling of several hungry stomachs forced them to stop. Opening his eyes and looking around, he saw that the sun was beginning to set. "Oh man, we were supposed to be in Viridian City by now," he said to himself. "Ah well, it was definitely worth it." He set about creating a fire pit, while sending Pikachu and Riolu into the nearby woods to get some firewood. 10 minutes and a thundershot from Pikachu found a roaring fire and a cozy campsite. After feeding the Pokemon, he pulled out a can of soup that his mom had made for him. "It's a good thing I packed for several nights," he said to himself, as he poured it into a pan and started cooking it over the fire. Once he had finished his own dinner, he added enough wood to the fire to last the night and pulled his sleeping bag out of his backpack. Immediately after squirming into it, his 3 other Pokemon snuggled in with him. "Good night, guys," he said to his sleepy Pokemon.